Well, joining us today, we have someone who I think I can confidently say has been in more of my favorite movies than any other actor. From The Dark Knight, where he played a devotee of Heath Ledger's Joker, who was then interrogated by Aaron Eckhart's Harvey Dent, to his role as Piter de Vries in Dune, the sort of twisted Mentat assassin, to the Polka Dot Man in Suicide Squad. And that's to say nothing of his memorable work in Blade Runner 2049, in Prisoners, and All Creatures Here Below, and much more. And of course, he has the distinction of having portrayed two of the most memorable characters in the Ant-Man franchise, the Baba Yaga expert Kurt, and the Holes aficionado Veb. And
drink the ooze. Drink the ooze.
Drink the ooze. Wow, the ooze.
There it is. There it is.
Right
Drink that
there.
ooze. Yep.
And man, because that's not enough, also the writer of Count Crowley, the incredible and surprisingly moving Monster Hunter comic from Dark Horse. Man,
thanks,
the spinner rack is key.
Oh yeah. This is a pride and joy in my office. I've been collecting vintage comics and classic horror stuff and magazines like Famous Monsters of Filmland and all the old Fangorias and all the old Creepies and Eerie's. And I keep everything pretty well organized in like long boxes as far as my comics and magazine collections goes. But my wife was like, those magazines, those comics are so beautiful. You should be really displaying them better. And I was like, that's a great idea. And then look what she got me 2 Christmases ago. I love it. Well, thanks for having me on the show. It's great to talk to you. As I commented earlier, you've got some really killer, awesome Mondo posters framed behind you. I love like specialty posters. I think specialty art is such a wonderful thing for us fans, and I'm always excited when I see like if it's a project that I was either a part of that I love or like one of my favorite films. I love like specialty posters for movies. I always think that's really cool.
Oh, there have been, speaking of, so many good ones for Dune.
So many.
There's so many things that we could talk about here, and we only have so much time. So I was going to start first at kind of the most obvious place, given that we are an MCU podcast. And the question that I've been dying to ask: how did Veb come about, and maybe where did Veb come from? As you were, you obviously have known Peyton Reed for a bit.
Yes, long time now. I mean, we met in 2014, and he has become a dear friend of mine, and I've loved getting to do the first 2 films with Paul and Evangeline and the rest of the amazing cast, and being Kurt was always such a joy for me, as you can imagine, a guy who... The first comic I ever bought was a Marvel comic. It was an Avengers, number 249. It's up on my wall. It's up there, actually, signed by Stan Lee eventually, because I took it to when I was hanging out with him one time. And the reality that I got to be a friend of Scott Lang's and I got to know Hank Pym in the MCU was like so awesome. But, as Peyton was preparing to put together the world of his third film, he told me that he was sad that he didn't think there was going to be space for Kurt or the Wombats because he was taking the entire film into the quantum realm. And so the movie was going to be about this space. And so a long time after, he calls me and he's like, we are writing this film. It is having the best time of my life. And there is a character that I think you would be perfect for. And he sent me the pages of Veb. I loved it immediately. I think Veb is by far one of my favorite characters I've ever gotten to play. I've never had as much joy probably as I had getting to bring Veb to life. And what was so cool about it was they had an idea based in the way that Jeff Loveness and Peyton described Veb in the script. And they had a vision of how Veb might look, which was pretty simply like this, kind of shapeless goo with a little bit of containment to help it exist. But but really it was very open to interpretation and creativity. And so I got to London and got to the quantum realm, and they would put me into this motion capture suit, the same thing you've seen, Steve Agee do for King Shark or Sean Gunn do for Rocket Raccoon. And like, I knew that Veb was smaller than everybody else, so I had to find a way to crouch and move my body and start to find the way that Veb would exist as a ball of kind of jelly. And I loved his voice, I loved his movement, I loved the way he existed, I love his fascination with the world around him. And I thought there was this really beautiful, tragic element to Veb, who is this organism that comes from a body of organisms that mostly have been wiped out by the Conqueror, because Veb serves this really important purpose in the quantum realm. By consuming any of Veb's cells, you are able to transcend language barriers. So if you consume some of the Veb goo, you can understand what anyone is saying, even if you don't speak the same language. Now, Kang would not want beings like that to exist, because as we know, people in power want nothing more than to keep us separated from each other. They don't want us to be able to communicate with one another. They want us to be afraid of people that look different than us, that speak different from us. That's one of the ways people in power who are unethical stay in power. So Veb's all the other organisms that Veb knew and loved in my building of this character were wiped out by the Conqueror. So Veb just has this very small family of outliers, these rebels, these refugees, if you will, being led by Jintora, and just trying to stay alive. And so it was really beautiful, and I loved the way that he looked in the end. I felt like they took what I did, mocap-wise and performance-wise, and it's me. It's so cool to see it. Like, that's me. My wife, after we were at the premiere the first time we saw the film, and as soon as the movie was over, she said, that was one of the most you characters you've ever played in your entire career.
Wow.
Because I talk with my hands like Veb, and we have a similar voice, and, there's a nice holes you've got there. Quite a bunch of holes. Speaking of wonderful creatures, this one will not leave me alone. Get up here. What are you doing? She is out of control.
Oh, man.
This is my cat, Bubblegum. If anyone's a fan of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, then they will remember the scene in the film where Polka Dot Man squares off against Starro the Conqueror at Corto Maltese. And when we were filming that, this wonderful stray kitten kept coming up to set and wanting love and scratches and snuggles, and she stole my heart, and she's been a part of my family ever since. This is Bubblegum, Polka Dot Cat.
That's incredible.
Say hi, Bubblegum. Hello, world. Hi, everybody.
Straight from the set.
Hi, yes. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Wow. See, I was going to ask if that was the model for one of my favorite characters in Count Crowley.
The cat. Cat is... No, and Cat will be named soon, and I'm glad that you love Cat. I love Cat. Cat is modeled after my cat. This is a true story. I got my cat, Amelie, in Chicago. She was a kitten this big. She fit in my shirt pocket. The woman who ran the bodega down the street from me in Chicago, who used to give me free groceries when I was broke, she had a friend that had a litter of kittens that needed adopting. So I took Amelie home, raised her, and I got her right when I got clean and sober, which is a big part of my journey, is my sobriety. My cat is about to knock over all my action figures. Bubblegum, can you get down, please? Bubblegum, down. Anyway, Amelie was with me for almost 16 years, and she just followed my journey from, recovery into acting again, traveling. She moved to California with me, and she passed away a couple of years ago. But Bubblegum, no joke, no exaggeration, I'll post a picture soon on Instagram, but she had a pumpkin-shaped birthmark on her nose, and when I was working with Lucas on introducing the character of the cat, he asked if I had any inspiration, and I sent him photographs of Amelie, and he was like, that cat really actually had a pumpkin birthmark. I said, she did. It's no bullshit. Like, because I wrote that in the script. And I was like, so Lucas has done such an awesome job bringing the cat to life.
That's great. I had no idea. I mean, I did love, at the end of the first volume, the piece you wrote, just sort of talking about how personal that project was for you, and then kind of seeing the similarity in certain kind of landmark moments in Jerry's journey and yours.
Yes.
Including that one. I say this, I'm kind of jumping into Count Crowley. I got the chance I got through the first volume. I'm midway through the second that I think just hit shelves last
week. Yes. Just came out.
I'm really, really, really enjoying it.
Thank you.
For our listeners, I was wondering if you could, oh man.
There's the cover of the new volume. It's so beautiful. Lucas is a genius, man. He's so talented.
I swear, it's one of my favorite things about comics is it's just so clear. Yeah, geez. The way that you can see these creative teams kind of evolve with the work, even just issue by issue, because you only have a handful as opposed to like a TV or film where you have kind of so many different folks involved.
Yeah.
You can really see the fingerprints of everyone that's making a comic. And so I've even loved I feel like, the first issue, Lucas's art was incredible. And now I feel like every issue since then, it's like
he's better and better and better. Anybody who loves comics and has been reading comics for a long time and looks at Count Crowley will know why I'm so over the moon with his work, because he is like, he's got the talent, the level of like a Bernie Wrightson or Frazetta, but in a modern lens, and he's writing something that feels very nostalgic because the comic is set in the 80s and it's very monster-rific. He's got incredible takes on werewolves and vampires and zombies and And it's a perfect team for me. I'm so grateful when Dark Horse said that they wanted to publish the first run of stories and see how it went. They paired me with the editor, Megan Walker, who's been my editor and friend ever since, and she is who connected me with Lucas, who I was already a fan of and who responded perfectly to the material. And then she brought us Lauren Aff, who's just this amazing colorist who has brought the color and the warmth of autumn in the Midwest and the world of Count Crowley so beautifully to life. Frank, who does my letters, has done every issue, always brings a specific, perfect tone to the way that he puts those letters together. I'm so lucky. It's this small but mighty team, and we now have such a great flow between us. I can't imagine doing Count Crowley books with anybody but this team.
Man, and I hope you don't, because it's just such a.
I will say I'm excited by the prospect of like maybe getting some variant covers at some point. Yeah. I think that would be really cool. I'd love, oh gosh, there's so many artists I'd love to see take a swing at a Count Crowley cover. But for now, as far as just like my team, I'm so lucky. I've got the best team.
Have you read any of James Tinian's Department of Truth series?
It's great. It's awesome. So good. I love Tinian too. Tinian's amazing.
Man, I don't understand how he can just everything he puts out is just incredible.
Yeah.
But one thing I really liked that kind of came to mind is I like how he will kind of have these different issues, like mini arcs that come in where he'll work with a different artist, and then kind of return. So it does give you it gives you the opportunity to see what a different collaboration looks like and kind of a different perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But still keeping the kind of core team.
It was cool for me. We've done one crossover event so far with Count Crowley where Steve Niles and I co-wrote a one-shot together, the Criminal Macabre Count Crowley From the Pit They Came, and it's Steve Niles' character Hal and my character Jerry that crash into each other in this one-off adventure. Now, that being said, I still got to have Lucas, Lauren, and Frank, but it was really cool getting to see Jerry's voice written by another writer, especially somebody I admire so much, like
Yeah.
Steve Niles. I mean, that guy's amazing. So
Right.
that was really cool for me. But I look forward to it, and I hope a time comes when I don't know who it will be, but I could see somebody else's version of what a Count Crowley cover might look like. Is that Fiona Staples? Is that Tula
Oh
Lotay?
man.
Is that who knows? There's so many brilliant.
Yeah.
Jason Sean Alexander. I'd love to see what that guy would do with the Count Crowley cover. I think who knows, man. But I'm just so grateful. I love my team.
And it's talking about having another voice or someone else kind of give voice to Jerry. That's also got to be like such a strange thing when I feel like Jerry is such a personal character for you.
Yeah.
Probably a strange but rewarding thing to kind of see that then go
Totally.
on and
Yeah.
expand.
It is. It's super rewarding because it felt like I had done enough of a job communicating who she was through previous issues that when Steve started writing her, he just got it. He just got her voice. I didn't have to change anything that he wrote in the Jerry voice. We would do this thing where it's like I'd write 2 pages, he'd write 2 pages. I'd write 2 pages, he'd write 2 pages. We just kept sending the document back and forth. We probably banged the whole thing out in 36 hours because we were both so excited and just like having so much fun. And I was like, can we put it was his idea, I think, to put it in LA because at this point Hal McDonald is in Cal is in LA at that point. I forget. I think Cal was in LA. But Cal basically he's an alcoholic just like Jerry. I've always loved that character, and I've loved that series from Steve because I love the way he used monsters and Cal's like self-destruction to go hand in hand. And like, is he ever going to actually not be this fall down drunk? And is he gonna eventually lose his battle? So when him and Jerry meet up, Jerry's actually sober, and she's trying to get him to go to a meeting. It's really fun because she's never the voice of reason in the Count Crowley stories. But we wanted to setting it in LA was fun because then we got to integrate the La Brea tar pits, which was really cool.
Man, I love how much of a comics fan you are, and I was sad to miss you because you were just in my neck of the woods at my local comic book store. I think a week or two ago at
Austin
Books
or
and
in New York?
Comics.
Austin Books and Comics. That was a hell of an
Yep.
awesome day, man. Those guys were rad. That is a cool comic shop.
It
Go
is.
by there and tell them I said hi. I love them. That was awesome.
I will. They're the guys that kind of got me back into comics probably 6 or 7 years ago. I had kind of grown up on them and then just felt like I was so behind and lost and didn't even know where to get back in. And it's like that's what we always try to be as a podcast when we talk about comics, is giving folks kind of entry points, which I think that's what I love about being able to talk about Count Crowley is it's such an easy one to pick up and start to kind of get a feel for what makes comics so unique and so magical. And a great comic book shop can do that really like nobody else, I think, and leading you into that world.
Well, thanks for what you said about Count Crowley being easy to pick up, and I hope it is. I wanted to write it in a way where people could pick up at any page and be engaged and pretty quickly get in the groove of what's happening. But coming out of the pandemic, more than ever, we recognize the power and importance of brick and mortar comic shops and why we need to support them and why it's so valuable to have real-time interaction with the employees at a comic shop, but also the fellow customers in the community that you build in a brick and mortar comic shop. So anytime I'm in a new city, one of the first things you'll see me do, I look for where the near restaurants are, where's the nearest grocery store and all that stuff. But actually the very first thing I'll look up is like, where is the nearest comic shop? And it doesn't matter if I'm in Copenhagen, if I'm in Budapest, if I'm in Berlin, if I'm in New York, if I'm in, Sarasota. I'm always like, where is that nearest comic shop? And I love going in and exploring. And I got to tell you, man, you can probably imagine what a trip it is to walk into a comic shop, in anywhere from Minnesota to Montana and see one of these babies on the shelf.
Oh man, yeah.
It's a great feeling, and it's something I'll never get used to. I love it.
Oh, I'm sure. And I know we're running out of time here, so just my final question. As we're talking about comics, and I know what they've meant to you, and how much they mean to me and to a lot of our listeners. And what is it about having appeared in so many comic book movies, from different, not just different franchises, but you've appeared in multiple Marvel and DC films. What is it that has drawn you to those films, and what do you think there is about those films that continue to resonate with folks the way that they do?
I mean, I've always been in love with the medium of comic books because they are our modern mythology. They are these larger-than-life ways that we can wrestle with and try to wrap our heads around the big questions that we think about, and they're such incredible ways to escape into the magic of our imaginations. There's no limits in the pages of a comic book, and now that we're living in an age where special effects and directors' visions are as unlimited as their capacity to take them, we can see these stories brought to life in like the most epic ways. I love all the things that a great comic book film can achieve, from the macro scale and getting to live in a world like the Quantum Realm or the James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy universe, all the way to a small, gritty, indie, dramatic thriller like Logan. It's a powerful space, and I'm so lucky I get to live in it.
Man, well, we're so lucky that you get to live in it and be a part of it for us. So thank you again,
Thanks, man.
David.
It was so awesome talking to you, and I hope I'll run into you at Austin Books and Comics next time I'm in Texas.
Yes, me too. It's been a pleasure, and you're welcome back on the show anytime.
Thanks, man.